welcome to our deep dive into the fascinating world of emotional styles.
Yeah.
You know, it's not just about happy or sad.
Right.
It's about how your brain shapes those feelings and even like your personality.
Yeah. And what's so exciting is we're not here to label emotions
Right.
as good or bad.
Yeah.
We're diving into your unique emotional patterns.
Exactly.
Think of it like your emotional fingerprint.
Exactly. We're going deep into the emotional life of your brain by neuroscientist Richard J. Davidson.
Yeah.
He's basically rocking the world of how we understand emotions.
It's revolutionary.
Yeah.
He's saying that just like we have different body types,
Oh, wow.
we also have different emotional styles.
Oh.
And get this, you can actually learn to change them.
Okay, before we get ahead of ourselves, let's break down this emotional style thing.
Okay.
What exactly are we talking about?
Well, Davidson gives us this powerful framework. He calls it emotional style.
Okay.
It helps us understand why people react so differently
Right.
to the same situations. And
So, like, why my friend completely freaks out over a flat tire, but I'm just like,
exactly.
it happens.
Exactly. He breaks it down into 6 dimensions.
Okay.
Think of them like dials on a mixing board, but for your emotions.
Okay.
And each one is linked to specific parts of your brain.
Wow.
It's mind-blowing how it all connects.
All right, hit me with these emotional dials.
First up is resilience.
Okay.
Remember that friend who bounces back from anything?
Yeah.
That's high resilience.
Yeah.
It all comes down to the connection between the prefrontal cortex, the CEO of your brain, and the amygdala,
Okay.
which handles those fight or flight feelings.
So the stronger that connection,
Yeah.
the faster you can calm down after something stressful.
Exactly.
Almost like your inner CEO is telling that panicky amygdala to chill out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Davidson's research actually found that highly resilient people show totally different brain activity during stressful situations. Their prefrontal cortex is working overtime, keeping those emotions in check.
That is so cool. Okay, what's the next dial on this emotional mixing board?
Next is outlook.
Okay.
Whether you tend to see the glass half full or half empty,
Right.
this one's linked to the ventral striatum, a part of your brain that lights up when you experience something rewarding.
So people who naturally lean towards optimism,
Yeah,
maybe their ventral striatum is just more easily excited.
it's a possibility.
Okay.
Now, how good are you at reading people?
Ooh.
That's social intuition.
Okay.
It relies on areas like the fusiform gyrus,
Okay.
which helps you process faces,
Uh-huh.
and the superior temporal sulcus, which picks up social cues.
So if I can walk into a room and instantly sense the mood,
Yeah,
maybe those parts of my brain are super active.
you might be onto something.
Okay.
But how about knowing your own feelings? That's self-awareness,
Well-
and it's tied to the insula,
Okay.
which helps you connect with your body's internal signals.
Ah. So if my stomach drops before a big presentation and I recognize that feeling as nervousness,
Yeah.
that's my insula in action.
Exactly. It's like your brain's internal mirror
Wow.
reflecting your emotions back to you.
Okay.
Now think about those people who can't adjust their behavior to different situations.
Okay.
Telling the same joke at a funeral and a party.
Oh, yeah.
They have low sensitivity to context.
Oh, yeah. I know a few people like that.
Yeah.
It's like they have one emotional volume setting stuck on loud.
And that's linked to the hippocampus,
Okay.
where your memories live, and
Yeah.
its connection to the prefrontal cortex, that CEO we talked about.
Mm-hmm.
They need to work together to adapt to different contexts.
Makes sense.
Okay.
Okay, last dial.
Okay.
Hopefully one I can crank up attention.
Exactly.
This is all about focus, right?
Exactly. It depends on the parietal cortex
Huh.
and areas of the prefrontal cortex that manage your mental resources.
Okay.
Think of it like your brain's air traffic control directing attention where it needs to go.
Wow, so there's actually a reason why I can't focus when my phone's buzzing.
Right.
It's not just me being weak-willed.
It's not just you. Our brains are wired to pay attention to novelty and distractions.
Yeah.
But the good news is, with practice, we can actually strengthen those attention circuits.
So understanding these 6 dimensions, it's not just interesting brain trivia.
Right.
There's got to be a reason why we're diving into all this, right?
Yeah.
What's the big picture takeaway for our listener?
The real magic here is that understanding your emotional style can change how you connect with people,
Uh-huh.
succeed in your career,
Yeah.
and even just feel better overall.
Okay.
Imagine knowing not just your own emotional tendencies, but also those of your loved ones,
Right.
your boss, even your coworkers.
Yeah.
You'd be able to navigate any situation with more understanding and empathy.
Okay, my mind is officially blown. This is so much more than just feelings. So are we stuck with these styles, or can we actually tweak those dials?
That's the best part. Davidson's research shows you are not stuck.
Really?
You can change your emotional style.
Seriously, how do we do that?
Well, there are a few powerful techniques, and they might surprise you.
Okay, I'm hooked. But before we get into that, I think we need to take a little breather and let our listener absorb all of this amazing info.
Okay.
This is a lot to process.
You're right. We've covered a lot of ground already.
Yeah.
Let's give everyone a moment to think about their own emotional styles and
Yeah.
how these 6 dimensions might be playing out in their lives. And we'll dive into how to actually modify those dials.
Exactly. So, dear listener, while we take a quick pause, take a moment to reflect on those 6 dimensions: resilience, outlook, social intuition, self-awareness, sensitivity to context and attention. Think about which ones might be your strongest suits and which ones might need a little boost. And get ready, because in the next part of this deep dive, we're going to explore some incredible strategies for shaping your emotional landscape and creating a life that feels more aligned with your values and goals.
Welcome back. I hope you had a chance to ponder those 6 dimensions of emotional style.
Yeah.
It's quite a paradigm shift to think of our emotions as something we can actually change.
It really is. It feels empowering to know that we're not just stuck with whatever emotional patterns we were born with.
Right.
But I'm dying to know, how do we actually tweak those dials?
Mm.
What can we do to boost our resilience or become more socially intuitive?
Well, the good news is there are a few proven techniques,
Okay.
and you've probably heard of some of them.
Okay.
But what's fascinating is how they actually work on a neurological level. They literally change your brain.
Okay, I'm so ready for this. Hit me with the brain-changing secrets.
Let's start with mindfulness.
Okay.
Practices like meditation have been shown to strengthen the prefrontal cortex, that CEO of the brain that helps regulate our emotions.
I've dabbled in meditation before, but honestly, I never quite grasped how it could actually change my brain, what's actually happening up there when we meditate.
It's amazing, really, when you meditate. You're essentially training your mind to focus on the present moment without judgment. And over time, this practice actually strengthens the connection between your prefrontal cortex and your amygdala. That emotional center we talked about, it's like building a stronger communication pathway between the CEO and the emotional team so they can work together more effectively.
So with practice, my prefrontal cortex gets better at calming down those knee-jerk emotional reactions. No more freaking out over spilled coffee.
Exactly. And the research is pretty astounding. Studies show that even just 10 minutes of meditation a day can make a difference.
Okay, that's definitely doable.
Yeah.
I can commit to 10 minutes a day. What else can we do?
Another powerful tool is cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT.
Okay.
It's all about identifying and restructuring those negative thought patterns that can lead to unhealthy emotional responses.
So if I'm someone who tends to catastrophize, always imagining the worst-case scenario,
Yeah.
CBT can help me challenge those thoughts and see things in a more realistic light.
Precisely, CBT gives you practical strategies to actually change the way you think, which then has a ripple effect on your emotions and behaviors. It's like learning a new language, the language of positive and realistic thinking.
This is starting to feel really hopeful. Like,
Yeah.
we have more control than we realize. Are there any other ways we can nudge those emotional dials in the right direction?
Don't underestimate the power of lifestyle choices. Regular exercise, for instance, does wonders for your mood. It releases those feel-good endorphins and can even increase the volume of your hippocampus, which plays a crucial role in emotional regulation.
You know, you mentioned that dancing is one of my favorite mood-boosting activities, and this is making me want to crank up the music right now. It's like a perfect storm of exercise,
Yeah.
music, social connection, and pure joy. Maybe I should make it a daily ritual.
I love that it's a perfect example of how these interventions don't have to feel like chores. Choose activities that you genuinely enjoy, that light you up and make you feel alive. That's where the magic happens.
It's so true. When I force myself to do things I don't enjoy, it just adds to the stress.
Right.
But when I'm doing something I love, it feels effortless. What about diet? Does what we eat actually impact our emotional style?
Absolutely. A diet rich in omega-3 fatty acids found in foods like fatty fish, walnuts, and flax seeds can support brain health and, in turn, emotional well-being. Think of it as giving your brain the premium fuel it needs to function at its best.
So we can literally eat our way to a better emotional style.
Yeah.
That's good news for a foodie like me.
Yeah.
But seriously, this is all fantastic information. It feels like we're getting a glimpse into the owner's manual for our brains. Where can our listener go to learn more about these techniques and really start applying them in their own lives?
Davidson's book, The Emotional Life of Your Brain, is an amazing resource. It's
Yeah.
packed with even more insights and practical exercises that can help you understand and shape your unique emotional landscape.
It's definitely on my reading list. Yeah. Okay. Now that we have a handle on these tools for change, let's zoom out a bit and talk about the bigger picture. You mentioned earlier that understanding emotional styles can impact our relationships and careers. Can you give our listeners some real-life examples of how this plays out?
Imagine you're in a relationship and your partner has low resilience, knowing that you can be more patient. And understanding when they're facing challenges, maybe give them some space to recharge instead of taking their withdrawal personally.
That's such a powerful example.
Right,
It's not about labeling someone as too sensitive or difficult.
right.
It's about understanding their unique emotional wiring and adjusting your approach accordingly. It could completely transform how couples communicate and support each other. What about in the workplace? How can understanding emotional styles make us more effective at our jobs?
Let's say you're leading a team and you notice that one member has incredibly high social intuition. You could leverage their strengths by involving them in projects that require strong interpersonal skills, like mediating conflicts or building relationships with clients. Or if you know that someone has low sensitivity to context, you might provide them with clear guidelines and expectations to help them navigate different situations more effectively.
It's amazing to think how these insights can change the way we build teams, communicate with colleagues, and approach problem solving. It's like a whole new level of emotional intelligence.
Yeah.
But this all makes me wonder, what does the future hold for this field? Are there any exciting developments on the horizon that our listeners should know about?
Oh, the future is brimming with possibilities. One area that's generating a lot of buzz is neurofeedback.
Whoa, that sounds like something straight out of a sci-fi movie. How does that actually work? Do you have to wear a helmet or something?
You do wear a sensor-equipped cap.
Oh, wow.
It measures your brainwave activity,
Okay.
and that information is fed back to you through visual or auditory cues.
So if you're working on boosting your resilience, you might see a visual representation of your prefrontal cortex activity and learn to make that activity stronger.
That's incredible. It's like having a personal trainer for your brain.
Yeah.
What are some of the other potential applications of neurofeedback?
Researchers are exploring its use for a whole range of challenges, from anxiety and depression to ADHD and even PTSD. The idea is that by training your brain to function more effectively, you can alleviate symptoms and improve your overall mental health.
It's mind-blowing to think that we might one day have personalized neurofeedback programs that can help us target specific areas of our emotional style that we want to work on, like a custom workout routine for our brains.
Exactly. And it's not just neurofeedback. Artificial intelligence, or AI, is also playing an increasingly important role in this field. Imagine AI algorithms that can analyze brain scans and identify patterns that predict emotional responses. This could lead to incredibly personalized mental health interventions tailored to your unique needs. So we might one day have apps that can track our emotions, understand our triggers, and offer real-time support. That would be amazing, like having an emotional GPS guiding us toward greater well-being.
It's an exciting possibility, but even without those futuristic technologies, we already have a wealth of tools and strategies at our disposal. Mindfulness, CBT, lifestyle changes, these are all powerful ways to shape our emotional landscape and live a more fulfilling life.
It's inspiring to think that we have so much agency in shaping our own emotional well-being. But this all makes me wonder how much of our emotional style is determined by our genes and how much is influenced by our experiences. Is it nature or nurture or some combination of the two?
That's the age-old question, isn't it? And it's one that researchers are still actively exploring. Twin studies have shown that there is a genetic component to some aspects of emotional style, particularly resilience and social intuition.
So does that mean we're basically stuck with the emotional tendencies we're born with? Are we fighting a losing battle against our genes?
Not at all. While our genes provide a blueprint, our environment and experiences play a huge role in shaping how that blueprint is expressed. Think of it like this. Your genes might give you a predisposition toward a certain emotional style, but your experiences can either amplify or diminish those tendencies.
So it's like a dance between nature and nurture. Our genes might make us predisposed to certain emotional patterns, but our experiences can either bring those patterns to life or help us rewrite the choreography.
That's a beautiful analogy, and this is where the field of epigenetics comes in. It's the study of how environmental factors can actually change the way our genes are expressed without altering the underlying DNA sequence.
Wait, so you're saying that our experiences can literally change the way our genes work? That's mind-blowing. Does that mean if I adopt healthy habits and create a supportive environment, I can actually change my genetic predisposition towards, say, low resilience?
That's the idea. It's a relatively new field of study, but it's incredibly exciting. It suggests that we have a lot more control over our biology than we previously thought. Our experiences, both positive and negative, can leave a lasting imprint on our genes, shaping how they function and influencing our emotional tendencies.
This is all starting to make me think about the importance of creating a nurturing and supportive environment for ourselves and for our loved ones. It's not just about feeling good in the moment. It's about creating a positive ripple effect that can impact our biology and shape our emotional well-being for years to come.
I couldn't agree more, and it highlights the fact that emotional health is not just an individual responsibility. It's something that we need to cultivate collectively by creating communities and societies that prioritize well-being and provide the support that people need to thrive.
This has been such an eye-opening conversation. It feels like we've just scratched the surface of this incredibly rich and complex topic.
Indeed, and I hope our listener is feeling inspired to dive deeper into the world of emotional styles and discover the incredible potential that lies within their own brain.
I'm sure they are. But before we wrap up this part of our deep dive, I want to circle back to something you mentioned earlier, compassion training. It sounds like a fascinating and potentially transformative approach to shaping our emotional landscape. Can you tell us a little bit more about how it works and why it's so powerful?
Certainly, compassion training is rooted in the idea that we can cultivate compassion both for ourselves and for others through specific practices and exercises. It's like building a muscle, but instead of physical strength, we're developing emotional strength and resilience.
So what kinds of practices are involved in compassion training? Is it similar to meditation?
It often involves guided meditations, but it goes beyond just mindfulness. You might be guided to visualize sending loving kindness to yourself, to loved ones, to strangers, and even to people you might have difficulty with. You might also practice exercises that involve actively listening to others, recognizing their suffering, and offering words of support and encouragement.
It sounds like a powerful way to shift our perspective and cultivate a more open and loving heart. But how does this actually change our emotional style? Is there a neurological basis for the benefits of compassion training? That's incredible. It seems like compassion training not only makes us feel better, but also rewires our brains for greater emotional well-being.
Precisely, studies have shown that compassion training actually increases activity in the brain regions associated with empathy and positive emotions. At the same time, it decreases activity in the areas linked to stress and negativity.
Wow.
It's like we're turning up the volume on the good feelings and turning down the volume on the bad.
So by practicing compassion, we can actually create a more positive emotional ecosystem in our brains. But it's not just about feeling good, right? Doesn't compassion also have a ripple effect on our relationships and the world around us?
Absolutely. When we cultivate compassion, we're not only benefiting ourselves, we're also creating a more positive and supportive environment for everyone we interact with.
So
It's like a chain reaction of kindness and understanding.
this whole deep dive has been so inspiring.
Yeah.
It's made me realize that understanding my emotional style isn't just about me.
Great.
It's about how I show up in the world, how I interact with others, and how I contribute to making the world a kinder and more compassionate place.
Beautifully said. The exploration of emotional styles isn't just about personal growth.
Right.
It's an invitation to create a more understanding, resilient, and interconnected world.
I love that. And speaking of connections, we've explored a lot of internal stuff today. The brain, emotional styles, changing our patterns. But before we wrap up, I'm curious to hear your thoughts on the role of our external environment, our social connections, and the communities we're part of.
Okay.
How do those factors play into our emotional well-being?
That's such an important question. Our emotional lives aren't just shaped by what's happening inside our heads.
Right.
They're also deeply influenced by the people we surround ourselves with, the communities we belong to, and the broader societal structures that shape our lives.
So creating a supportive social network and being part of a community that values emotional well-being can actually make a tangible difference in our emotional styles.
Absolutely. Think about it. When you're surrounded by people who support you, encourage you, and help you navigate challenges, it makes a world of difference in how you feel and how you cope with stress. It's like having a whole team of cheerleaders rooting for you, helping you build resilience and weather the storms.
And I imagine that the opposite is true as well. If we're in an environment that's constantly stressful, critical, or invalidating, that can take a toll on our emotional well-being.
Exactly. Chronic stress, toxic relationships, and societal pressures can all erode our emotional resilience and make us more vulnerable to anxiety, depression, and other challenges, like constantly swimming against a strong current. It takes a lot of energy and can eventually wear you down.
So it's not just about focusing on our individual emotional styles in isolation.
Yeah,
It's about creating a culture of emotional well-being in our families, our workplaces, and our communities.
I couldn't agree more. We need to create spaces where it's safe to talk about our emotions, where vulnerability is valued, and where people feel supported and encouraged to take care of their mental health.
This has been such an eye-opening and inspiring conversation. I feel like I've gained a whole new understanding of how my brain works, how my emotions shape my experiences, and how I can take an active role in shaping my own emotional well-being.
It's been a pleasure exploring this topic with you.
Likewise, and to our amazing listener, thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the fascinating world of emotional styles. We hope you've gained some valuable insights that will help you navigate your own emotional landscape and create a life that feels truly fulfilling. Remember, you have the power to shape your emotions, strengthen your resilience, and build a more compassionate and fulfilling life.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep embracing the incredible power of your amazing brain.
And remember, you're not alone on this journey. We're all in this together, figuring out how to navigate the complexities of our emotional lives and create a world where everyone can thrive.
Thanks for listening.